This is owned by Mr. Everson, and he shipped it all the way from the Pacific Northwest. And I'm going to plug his business in the description. Feel free to check out Mr. Everson's website. All of his hard work is paying off with this because this is his baby. And we're going to be doing our other LS swap with Holley EFI goodies and all kinds of other stuff. So that's coming down the pike as soon as we can get Mr. Pena's off the lift. Here is the LS motor that we're piecing together for Mr. Everson. Summit Racing actually sells quite a few built, like 5.3, 5.7, you can get 6, 7 liter blocks. We went with a built-ish 5.3 block. This one is, I have to look at my nose, but I'm almost certain this one is like a 450 crank horsepower motor. So, we'll see what it makes on the dyno after we get everything in the car and running. It's going to be running a Holley EFI setup, long tubes, kind of just a general package for LS swaps. We got a Phytech intake with a 102 millimeter throttle body. It's a short runner style, so of course, dumbass me didn't pay close enough attention when I ordered all this stuff. The intake manifold I ordered is a rec port, a rectangular port. Well, this is a cathedral port engine. I didn't pay close enough attention. Got my LS's mixed up. LS1's cathedral port, LS3 is rec port. So, anyways, I got a LS3 manifold, and I need an LS1 manifold. So I think what I'm going to do instead is, I'm going to obviously, we're going to make sure that the customer is brought in on this. I'm going to actually, it's after hours on a Friday, so I'm going to give him a call Monday and just touch base with him. But ICT Billet makes these adapter flanges, and there's a dude on YouTube that does a bunch of dyno testing. And so after watching that video and given the intake that we picked, I think it might be a good option. So we're going to try that out. So I'm going to make sure that the customer's okay with it. Of course, it's too late for me to send this back to Summit. It's been too long. So worst case scenario, if he doesn't want to run the adapters, we'll continue moving forward for now with it, just to do our proof of concept, get it running, and then I'll before we deliver the vehicle to him, we'll make sure we get the LS1 intake manifold if that's what he decides he wants to do. I personally think it's going to be fine. It's a street car. We're not building a 24-hour Le Mans car. It's really not going to be that big of a difference. So that's where we're at. Waiting on a little bit of hardware to put the timing cover on, my spacers or manifold adapters, a couple of other things, and then this motor is almost ready to test fit. Textured red powder coat and give it kind of that exotic car look, Ferrari, whatever you want to call it. I think red and black is going to be a nice color combination on this motor, especially with a white car. And so, we're running the Dirty Dingo adjustable mounts. On this one, we're going to try CX Racing long tube headers. We've had some experience with them before. We did have to do a little bit of minor fitting. It's just kind of nature of the beast. They're technically for a 240, not a 280. So we're probably going to have to modify them a little bit to make them fit. Hopefully we do full fabrication here, so that shouldn't be a problem. And then we've got a Termec Magnum 6-speed we're going to pair this with. Just kind of some of his, all of his assembly parts that we're slowly piecing together. Get ready to get this pig dropped in. So the customer's cool with me running the manifold spacers, and I told him, hey, if it doesn't work out, we'll just yank it off and get the right stuff. But this way, for now, we're not held up on parts. But I got the oil pan on, I got the front timing cover on. I was going to install a balancer tonight, but then I realized my balancer tool does not have the LS style adapter that I need. So I got that. I'm going to send Oscar out to Summit tomorrow, pick that up. But yeah, I'd like to get the balancer on and the water pump on, and this thing will be pretty much ready to drop in, and then the rest of it we can kind of work on, once we get it in the car. Alright, we're getting ready to put a alternator bracket on this iron block, but because it's an iron block, this hole was not drilled or tapped from the factory. So luckily ICT Billet makes a really nice drill jig, which I'm getting ready to do. And we got our spec for our drill bit and the tap. So I'm gonna get that drilled and tapped so I can mount the alternator, mock it up. I think we have an alignment issue with this pulley. And with LS motors, there's always a difference between the type of pulleys and the accessories you use, and the fact that this is a truck motor, but I got a car crank pulley. And so I think there was supposed to be a spacer or something back here that didn't get provided with the motor. And I called Summit yesterday. They didn't really have a clear answer for me. So I'm just gonna kind of mount all of the accessories and get a measurement, see how far off we are, and then determine from there if I need a spacer, if so, how much, and maybe see if I can get them to swap out for the mid-size pulley. So they sell 3 of this specific one. So you get your Corvette F-body, you've got your CTSV Pontiac variants, and then you have the truck, which is the furthest out. So we'll see if I can get them to take care of me on that. But in the meantime, let's get to tracking down our drill bits. So one thing you're going to want to make sure you have is a bottoming tap, which this one came from McMaster Car. And if you look at a bottoming tap versus a normal tap, you can see this has a much smaller taper profile, so it can go further in the hole and continue to cut threads. Now get us a nice threaded hole in the block for the alternator. And then we're getting ready to break ground finally on Mr. Everson's LS swap. Finally got everything situated here after pulling like 20 belts off the shelf from XL Parts next door. None of the information on ICT Billet's website was correct, so shout out to them for the wild goose chase. But we got the Camaro alternator, Camaro crank pulley, Camaro F-body / Corvette water pump. Everything ready to go. So, something else, don't trust Summit Racing to tell you that, hey, this pulley works with this engine, because it doesn't. So, I've got to call them and tell them, hey, you need to take this thing back. And then I'm waiting on injectors, because I ordered ones that were too tall. The vendor's going to swap me out. So, yeah. Finally gonna move all of Everson parts off of our pallet rack to his vehicle. You're getting your YouTube certifications?
We're looking up turbos.
Dude, I didn't realize how much stuff we had.
What do you mean updates?
Yeah, and I'm sure there's stuff I forgot too.
Oh yeah, we'll find some stuff.
Yeah.
Careful, Drew built this.
Damn, I didn't bring my phone out here. Yeah, because we're gonna have to set the final distance with the transmission, like
Yeah.
how it... But the pan's not hitting?
The pan was sitting on the rack, but I moved it backwards far enough to where the pan is below the rack.
Okay.
So, but I can't go forward anymore because now it's blocking.
Yeah, we don't need to go forward. Yeah, we might have to trim that stud down. So Pina, I think, is a Corvette alternator. This is like a general, like, I think it's an Escalade alternator.
Why they're different? Or spacing?
It's just the one I picked. I think it's 160 amps or something like that.
Alright, so Pina's is 4 5/8 from the head.
And we're at what?
Like right at 5.
So we're only like, what is that, 3/8?
3/8.
Okay. So I would say we can trim that stud down.
I have a hacksaw.
Yeah, just figure out what thread it is, trim it down, because it's only going to be one wire on it. And then we can slide it back with the trans.
It's not very big for a battery positive,
I know.
especially for 160 amps.
Right. But it's in.
You say that a lot?
Clutch good?
Fits. Better than some.
Nice.
And it's not a Ford, so I didn't forget the intermediate plate.
Yeah. Done that before. Cool.
It says these go to 52 foot-pounds.
That's the factory spec, or did it come with instructions?
I just looked it up.
Oh.
There's the I hope it's right spec.
Yeah. Good and tight?
Yeah. Loctite will cover my mistakes.
I almost had Oscar powder coat the bell housing, but I was like, you're not even really going to see it anyway.
No,
So
I don't think they would look very good.
hey, it's in there. Have you checked the hood clearance yet? Just what hits the throttle body?
Yeah, well, it clears here, but it doesn't clear there.
Okay, so theoretically we could turn the throttle body upside down.
Yeah.
And honestly, it would help a lot with the cable anyways. But the other option is, I found the same 92 millimeter throttle body that is on Pina's, and it honestly would probably be a better option. Dude, this is a low profile pan and it still hangs low.
Yeah, low profile, right? So I don't understand why they don't make the same, like, why don't they just make it, like, longer? It's the same amount of oil, just make it shorter here, longer here.
This pan is supposed to be like one of the most swap friendly pans, that's why they did it that way.
There's a car there.
Alright, so we gotta measure for the drive shaft. So from here to there, and then...
And then have it make it wrong so we can make it again.
yeah. No, honestly, at least half the time the drive shafts come in wrong, it's my fault. Cool. How's this thing going?
The alternator current cable is on, and the wiring to make it actually turn on is in. Whether it works or not, I don't know. It's installed.
Cool.
We'll build as soon as it from the top.
Yeah,
I got it all hidden.
I don't think I filmed this since we got like the Holly ran and injectors and all that installed. So
these both test for ground, but I feel like I remember hooking up these together on Loya's car, and then I let the smoke out of the wires. So I don't
Well,
really
look
want
at,
to let the smoke out of the wires again.
look at McPherson's car.
This car is not a 77. This car isn't internally regulated. That's why it's different. Because usually it's just this one.
Okay.
That's it. But this one is extra. I need to look at Bo's car, but even his car is different because his car has a different alternator. So,
Well,
I don't know.
when we get it ready to power up, if you use a fuse jumper ground it if the fuse blows, and you know it's actual 12 volts. If it doesn't blow, then it's a ground, because you're going to read 12 volts there with a voltmeter, because like 12 volts is waiting to go to ground. Does that make sense? So that'll psych you out. It happened to me before. I'm like, dude, all these ground wires have 12 volts. So maybe we're almost ready to do the axles and rear suspension. Depending on how much you got left here.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'd like to like put plugs on it and like put oil in it, start it.
That oil tank will be here today.
Because it's probably not that far away from starting.
Yeah, I still got to find you the correct barb fittings.
Yeah, that's true. I need to do the fuel. Yeah, so I guess I can do rear suspension after lunch.
Okay. Cool. Putting some Fab axles in this pig.
Yes, it's the wrong size.
Does it fit? You got to do when you get the control arms in and the axles and all that, you should go, it fits!
What if it doesn't?
Then go, it doesn't fit! Finally broke down and ordered one of these oil tanks instead of pulling all the spark plugs out and cranking it to build pressure. Figured it was time to be a little bit more professional, especially like we've been sitting on this engine a while, so better safe than sorry. But basically how this works, you just fill it with oil, pressurize it, and you inject it straight into the engine through the oil pressure port. Is it working?
Yeah.
Oh, you had to strip all of this off, huh?
Yeah, I was all in the way.
Yeah. Alright. So if you're doing Fab axles, you gotta trim the stubs. You gotta trim the spindles. And then it'll clear. Per the instructions.
Hey, you know, these are size specific?
One might be longer than the other, yeah.
They are.
Okay. Did you
Yeah.
put one on the wrong side?
Yeah. 50-50 chance you get it wrong 100%.
You don't remember me telling you yesterday one side's longer?
No.
It's in the same part of his memory where the instructions were for...
Yeah, when you look at this card, one side doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's like that size longer.
Damn, I can see a lot. Well,
Right?
Caleb is showing us why you can only install axles on one side.
You saw
Damn,
that
that,
shit.
was,
You
that
saw
was a
that
slick
shit.
catch.
On
I don't know if the
camera.
wide angle got it all the way,
You
but
saw that shit.
cat-like reflexes. He's got good physical reflexes, no mental reflexes.
That's not true.
Dude, somebody's gonna try to cancel us on YouTube
absolutely.
for saying that. Like, I have a cousin who actually is. No. And then I'm getting ready to call Dave at Fab because we got one of the stubs is a smaller spline, so I'm gonna call Dave and find out what happened there. Apex sent us a control arm where whoever was working there jammed the Heim joint all the way in with powder in the threads. Oh, it's sandblasting media. Jesus Christ. We got this control arm with sandblast media in the threads, and the Heim joint's jammed, so got a replacement on the way. I think we have an older Techno-Toy tuning design here because the bolts hit, and you can see the diff case hits the mount, so I need to message them and find out if they have a revised design, and if so, can they send it? So there's that. But we might hear this thing go vroom vroom tomorrow. I don't know. Here's some close-ups of the CX Racing fitment. So far, these have been the best fitting headers for the LS swaps we've either performed or have dealt with post-swap here. And we did them with the Dirty Dingo mounts. That's about where we slotted it. So if you end up buying any supporting parts from us, drive shaft, whatever, that's about where you need to locate the engine mounts to get good header clearance in a 280. And I'm getting ready to order the drive shaft. This is where the floor lines up, shifter placement. It's offset to the left, but you know, we're gonna fabricate a plate to close that hole.
We have Everson 280Z right here. Finally have rear wheels on it because there was finally suspension on the car. I have Fudo Fab axles installed with the HD stubs. Those are in there, you can't see them, but you can flex like that. Let's see. Oh yeah. So, say if someone pulls up and they know what they know, then they know, you know? Bright orange axles look real pretty under there. They weren't that bad to install if you follow the instructions. If you don't follow the instructions like I do, then you call Dave and Dave tells you, hey asshole, follow the instructions. And then you do, and that can make sense. Got our apex arms on, did a half-assed eyeball alignment to make it sort of straight, maybe, we'll see. But, yep, now I get to run the fuel system for that big honking LS up front. Maybe bleed the clutch eventually. Do something under here. Got the wiring harness in place. All the wiring that I could run underneath the intake manifold is placed under the intake. All that crap back there I can't do anything about, but for the most part, looks pretty solid in there. I'm going to work on running the fuel system. If you have a 280Z and you have a fuel pressure regulator from Aeromotive, it fits right there. You don't even have to drill holes in the car. And that's how I do it. I don't drill holes in cars unless I really, really have to. So, yeah, engine's looking good. I got to wire in some more things. But every day is one step closer. This car used to be full of parts. Now it's only half full of parts. We are back with this bad Chevy engine, bad car. Just kidding. It should work now. Bad guy.
Bad guy.
We used an oil pressure tank, that one, to forcibly inject 5 quarts of oil into the engine through the oil pressure sending unit in the back. In theory, it has oil in it now. I have power disconnected from the injectors. It should have no injector, no fuel pump. I have the coils undone. I'm going to crank it. I did bump the starter once already to make sure it did do something, and it does. So, ready?
Yeah.
Spin. It says I have 30 pounds on the dash.
Sweet.
Does it even come out yet?
I haven't noticed any.
I'll keep going.
I don't see any, but I don't really have much to look at.
I have RPM too.
Nice. Looks like your motor was built correct.
Well, Chris, if you were here, it'd start. It's your fault. You're not here. No V8 noise today. Gotta make V8 noise at 8 a.m. Monday.
And I ain't even gonna be here.
Zoom in.
It's Rich. Will you, let's do it one more time. I'm gonna have you film it running so I can send it to the customer. Just holler at Caleb when you're ready. Yeah, that's really rich. You're cool. Got signs of life.
Turns out I might know what I'm doing.
Got an update on Mr. Everson's. We are putting the radiator in, and Bo is not working right now. Just kidding.
No.
Adding a bung to it for the steam port kit. So this one we're doing on the driver's side,
Yeah.
just to keep it cleaner.
Yeah.
Looks like you know what you're doing.
No, don't say that.
Caleb got a haircut, and I think they clipped some of his brain. Nah. All right, so we got throttle cable working. We got a clutch master cylinder upgrade. So on Piña's, we did a OEM replacement master cylinder for the clutch. It was an aftermarket. This one had the OEM one, like the one from 1978, and we just couldn't get it to pump up. We even extended the little pedal clevis, and it still didn't want to release properly, so we found this Willwood upgrade, and now it's mint, right? It's mint. Caleb fabbed up the throttle cable right before they left for Texas 2K. And I was really jealous, but it rained the whole time, so I know.
So the line
Looked like it was a good time.
The line to get in on Sunday was legitimately like hours long. Like,
Yeah.
We waited an hour and a half to get there early, but people who got there later, like at noon, they legit waited 4 hours.
No.
And they never got in.
I think they underestimated how much traffic there was going to be. Because there's not there's only one way in and out of the track, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's two, but like, yeah. Really bad.
So yeah, working on getting the steam port kit in, and maybe we fill this thing with coolant tomorrow and actually warm it up. Still has no exhaust, but that's coming next.
The T3 bar doesn't fit
What does it hit, the manifold?
the intake. Yeah, if it didn't have the spacers, it'd probably fit.
Gotcha. All right, well, we will talk to him about that.
You can
What if
still
we
use-
shimmed
you can
the,
still use the rear, but
What if we shimmed the,
there's not a lot of thread there.
no? Okay. We'll figure
If
it
you
out.
had VCs with extended studs, then probably. But even then, it might hit the hood.
Right, yeah. Okay. Well, we had talked about if this intake setup doesn't work that great, that I would honor my word and get the correct intake and then just flip this on Marketplace. So
Yeah.
if it's really if he's really upset about it, then I guess we're ordering the correct intake manifold since I can't apparently read. Luckily, this LS stuff, like, you know, just like that Corvette balancer that we couldn't use, like I have a ton of stuff to sell off of this that is too late to return, so.
So like a heater hose is figured on this thing too. I don't know if
Look at what we did on Piña's.
Well, unless I want to go under the intake,
Oh, I mean like the adapters that, because
Oh.
it's bigger there.
because I think ideally I'd like to go like straight 90
Mm-hmm.
down and then another like extended and then 90.
Yeah.
So they go like at the same time over there.
Well, the only one that's bigger is this one, so
We had a little adapter for it. Like a
Yeah.
barb fitting adapter.
that, or physically drive the car over to the XL and see if you can like pull a few hoses off the shelf and just see
Yeah.
if it's going to look like it works.
Well, if you can get an adapter in the straight, I can just make a little 90 and then go from big to small. And just go over there.
Yeah.
That'd be the easiest
kinda
thing
what
to
we
just
did,
get
yeah.
a barb.
Well, it's not that much bigger. Like we could probably grease it and force it over.
Yeah, but it sucks. Like, see if it doesn't work. And
Yeah,
there's
then we own the
there's not-
hose.
There's not a lot of room there either.
Yeah. He's got that nice shiny clutch master. Still has factory brake master. We may have to. We'll see how it runs and dries. Like it may be a little.
It's got Willwoods on it.
Yeah, but with Willwoods with the factory master, it may be a little less responsive than it should be to slow this thing down.
Yeah.
It probably worked fine for the factory, 85 horsepower L engine. This thing is advertised as 400 crank without like fuel injection or anything, so I bet it's going to be pretty stout.
I think maybe like 380 wheel, something like that.
I don't know, because we did I don't remember who did a V8 swap. I think it was Casey. It was advertised at like 400 crank, but because they put a Terminator on it, he was able to advance a lot more timing out of it and actually made like, I think 450 to the
Okay.
wheels. I don't know. I need to ask him. I could be talking out of my ass. It happens a lot.
now that we got that out of the way, we can take a look at the subject matter we have going on here. I am installing speed hut gauges into Mr. Everson's 280Z. I have the 3 already in there, and then I have the 2 big ones right there. I got kind of fancy with the wiring. They give you these little breakout things. They're actually pretty convenient. So that sucks. Nice shot. But anyways, I got those all wired up because they all go through the dimmer here, which is apparently a new thing, the 0 dimmer. Half of it goes to the vehicle. You can't see it, it's covered up, but this is, see, gauges right there, gauge side, car side. So then you hook up, there's a ground there, so ground, and then this is key on, orange is constant, and this is illumination when you hit the lights, and that will control everything. So I'm hoping that I can find all of those in there somewhere in this plug, or if I have to extend it to a different plug. I have the fuel gauge hooked up already. I got fancy and made some like little plug-ins right there. So I don't like modifying wiring harnesses for cars, especially a car that's this nice. Like, we had a different car come in here that had these connectors cut off, and they saved the pins and made the connectors work, and I was like, oh, that's cool. But these gauges are actually nice. I did it for here on the turn signal as well. You can see a better idea. Don't look at this for the wiring because it may not be right. The turn signals are those 2 wires, but I don't know if left to right's the right way around. But I'm about to throw it in the car. This is the tachometer wire that's already out for the Holly. I'm about to throw it in the car and then find out where all my powers are, because I can't do that without the car plugged in. And then, yeah, car good. I guess I'll flip the dash over and I'll show you how they actually look from the front side. So here's the actual gauges. He went with the regular S30 livery stuff, so nothing super crazy. But so we got going on. He's got the dual gauges as well. I can hardly see. The gimbal's mad, but he's got dual gauges. Looks pretty good. Regular clock. Don't yell at me if it's not straight. I'm getting there. But dash better go back in the car, and then I can keep doing the wiring. This car is also very nice. It's been really nice to work on one that nobody messed up. Some retard didn't come in here with a pair of cutters. And Bo, on the other hand, has not been so fortunate. He's been cussing on this car all day.
Well, what are you doing, Bo?
Trying to fix wiring that I didn't do.
He's trying to fix wiring that he didn't do. That's crazy. That's exactly what I just said that I didn't have to deal with today. I have the dash light in the car. Like I said, don't follow the wiring that I showed in that clip. It was wrong. The turn signals were on the wrong side, so they weren't really working. But speed huts are installed and functional. I went up in there, you probably won't be able to see, but up in there I have made my connections to the body harness, so that's cool. Didn't have to cut and tap into any wires. Everything works like it should. I need to calibrate the gas gauge more than likely because I don't think it has that much gas in it. But yeah. I also have to go through and hook up the oil pressure and coolant temp gauges, but functionally they do work. And speed hut, like I showed you that little dimmer box thing, when you hit the light switch, they do dim. It's very minuscule on here, but you can see the volt gauge going up and down the middle. So that's cool. It's a lot easier than wiring up those little digitizer box thingies. The gimbal's not very happy about staying straight, but yeah, I'm happy with it. So now, probably tomorrow, I'll be running wires through the car and doing all that stuff. So, well, right here we have Everson's beginning to be Y pipe for the V8 swap car. I made this little merger, rather large merger. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but this is the hole that I have to cut out of this pipe. Pretty big. I wanted it to, you know, work. So that's kind of what I have going. Yeah, there's a gap there. Yeah, it's going to suck to weld. I don't know if I'm going to break these tacks off and try and weld this separately or not. It's probably a better idea, but we'll see. 8:30 in the morning on Monday. Or not Monday, I'm retarded. Thursday. But I make a bunch of noise. Alright, so I think I have about 4 hours in this collector. So I made this, called it good enough, and I cut the hole. And now we have an actual merger. Something about like that. So, yeah. It hasn't been very fun to do this, but some of it's going to be really annoying to weld. There's a pretty decent gap on this side, so I'll probably be hammering and struggling and cussing, but one step closer.
So here's our dual to single Y-pipe exhaust transition on Everson's car. It already sounds a lot better with the exhaust merge, so. Were you gonna throw something at me?
Of course not.
Yeah, uh-huh.
I was gonna say I don't know how it's gonna scavenge, if it's gonna scavenge at all. I just made it look right, so
It should.
Don't ask me how it works. It just fits.
Yeah, it'll work.
It ain't gonna be loud anymore, I'll tell you that.
Let's hear the heartbeat of America. I think that O2 sensor shit, well, hell, it's not here yet. Yeah, it is. O2 sensor's here.
That's a big bitch.
It is.
It's a fruit fab instead of fruit fab.
Yeah. The pipes are significantly bigger, too.
I like big pipes.
All right, well, I want to lift it up, and we're going to do the sound test of the 1320 muffler.
Oh, yeah! It's a muffle.
You got to do the, let's get all tones.
It's muffled. Here.
That is significantly quieter.
I'm yelling.
This is science. Yeah, it works.
See how long it is, like, in there?
See how long it is in there?
Yeah.
It's a little sus.
A couple of
Do you have
90s.
the mount for it? Factory mount on?
We're not using that shit anyway.
Yeah. That thing
You wanna
thing's
bring the
lower
ass
than
down.
Gas tank.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Be a big boy. This looks good.
Pretty sure that's a diesel truck, maybe so. Like on the side of 18-wheeler? Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It's an Isuzu NPR fuel tank. That looks good. You happy with it?
It's alright.
Everything's just all right with Caleb. Cool.
Might still be running.
He wants to talk so bad today, but like the phone keeps ringing off the hook. Like when we just got back, he's like, "Dude, I've been doing nothing but answering the phone the whole time we were gone."
Good.
Like, yeah, that's what I said. I was like, "That's what you're here for."
My buddy's Miata's gonna be here today.
He had told me about. All right, Caleb is working on hangers now. This thing was a lot bigger than we realized, so I hope he's happy with it. I'll send him pictures after we get everything mounted on the ground. It sounded pretty good earlier when he started it up. We got the exhaust finished. We've got about, I think 25-30 miles on this break-in oil. No, we've got about 25-30 miles on the engine. We've already changed the oil twice just for our internal break-in procedure. Caleb is working on replacing the booster because it's an eyesore. There's nothing wrong with it, but the customer requested it because everything else looks so good under the hood now. But we got the cooling fans finished up, the bleeder system for the steam ports, cold air intake set up.
Cold air.
Cold
air.
And we did the suck test on it. Everybody in the shop passed. He wanted us to stiffen the body a little bit, so we've got some Apex fender braces on the way. We've got some Techno-Toy goodies for the rear suspension. Added some additional bracing. And then we test fit the strut bar and realized that even if we modified the brackets, it's going to hit the hood. So a few vlogs ago, we talked about, I told the customer if it became a problem, I would buy the proper intake since I was a dumbass and ordered the wrong one. So luckily we found a buyer locally. A friend of ours is actually buying this intake setup off of us to put on his 84 Maximo when he buys his V8. So I got the correct cathedral port intake on the way to lower the intake height so that hopefully this crossbar will fit and clear the intake. And it's about an inch off, more or less. And so the height of this is about approximately 3/8 of an inch, but the intake also curves up, so I'm hoping that it buys us enough clearance. So we'll see how that goes. We're going to do a baffled oil catch can. We're going to do a billet aluminum coolant tank. And we're getting towards the trailing end of stuff. Caleb's got some heat shields to build, cut down on heat under the hood. Then we got to get it aligned and have it tuned, and then we're in quality control mode before it finally goes home. So this is what we kind of do in-house for the transmission tunnels on these LS cars. We may eventually start selling these little plates too. So if you pair this plate with a, this shifter boot is for the TL70 swap that we do for the Datsuns, the 6-speed TL70 transmissions. So that's a factory Subaru FRS boot. And we just got to get a grommet for this, but the one thing I noticed, I've got short T-Rex arms, and the shifter's almost uncomfortable to use while driving. So I've got an S-curve shifter rod on the way for this car and Mr. Pena's car, just to give it a better feel. Alright, Everson's exhaust. Good. Alright. Update on Mr. Everson's. I don't know if we're getting things wrapped up. We just got it back from alignment from Vernon's down the street from us. He opted to have us put some Techno-Toy braces in with the control arm caps in the rear. And because of the exhaust that we built previously when this stuff wasn't on, we ended up flipping these around, which these are technically installed backwards. They're supposed to be rotated the other direction. They do contact the control arm, but it's only when you lift the vehicle. So unless you're catching air or anything like that, these will never hit because the suspension's going to be compressed. So it'll be riding just fine. But we had to do that to allow us for this whole run here, and we also had to clearance in here a little bit to get it to clear around this cap because it drops down a lot more. So we got that stiffened up. He added a C-pillar brace up top. And I just got done installing the knock sensor relocation kit. So this is a Gen 3 block, and I wanted to have a nice valley plate that didn't have the knock sensors that like to accumulate water and any of that other stuff. So I opted to put the ICT billet knock sensor relocation and put both knock sensors here, and I just took an OEM GM harness and extended it to fit the Datsun. Still gotta clean it up a little bit, but it goes through the heat shield that Caleb made that blocks all of that stuff from heat. It goes up to the back of the motor and connects to the Holly. You can kind of see where we had to run some of the other knock sensor could have mounted here, but the problem is this boss on this block interferes with the knock sensor body. So instead of lapping that off and cutting it, I just put both knock sensors on that side. So we got fresh oil in the motor after about a 100-mile break-in. We have our tuner that actually should be showing up now to tune this car. He's the same tuner that tuned Mr. Pina's. Added some heat shielding around that wire. That's actually the oil pressure sensor for the speed hut gauge. So the Holly uses the factory fuel pressure sensor up top behind the intake manifold, so we added a secondary one here specifically to feed the oil pressure sensor to the speed hut gauge. So yeah, we're getting things wrapped up. So that's what I was talking about. The harness tucks behind that heat shield and connects back here. So yeah, it's moving along. We're out here shooting Mr. Everson with Colby again.
Sorry.
Hey, you might be the next Larry Chen.
I know.
So we'll just say I'm the poor people speed hunters, and you're the poor people Larry Chen.
Yeah, that's pretty good example or description of us.
All right, Caleb's been working on some of the finishing touches for Mr. Everson's, including some fender braces from Apex. So you got this side worked out. Turn the light on. All right, so Apex fender brace number 1. And so you had to modify this thing a little bit to fit, right?
Yeah, the other side shows it better. But
oh yeah, there's a bead here, yeah. So you had to clock this to fit better, right?
Yeah.
But we think now that this side's been hit. Did you have to build a bunch of filler pieces?
On this side I did. On the other side you can see it.
Okay. Okay,
modify
so
that one as well.
Yeah, snip that to rotate it.
And then I couldn't really get it to sit right. No matter what I did, there was always a gap here or there was a gap here. It was never flush to the corner, but there's also this panel here, which you can cut out, but it's also spot welded, so I didn't want to.
Yeah.
So there's a piece of metal there to fill. So I welded the metal to the car and then the metal to the plate. I'm gonna seam seal that.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that.
All right. Well, it looks good.
There you go.
Did you weld that?
Yeah.
Man. Did you really weld it? Wasn't you?
I welded that. Don't look at that though.
Yeah,
That's
well, we'll blame the car on that one.
Big welded it.
Man.
I'll be welding.
Super fabricator. That looks good.
Just finished up doing one of the final things on Everson's car before it goes home. I finished up the safety wire on the axles. I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to safety wire. I watched a 2-minute YouTube video. Don't look at that one, it looks like shit. This is the only one that's actually somewhat decent. But good enough for Boeing in my opinion, so I'll ride with it. Yeah. This car is basically ready to go. Do a quick little tour. Damn. They're good. Put a new throttle body on it today. The old one, the spring was super stiff. The shifter on the, or not shifter, the throttle body was super stiff on the other one. So now we have an actual Phytech unit instead of, I think it was a Summit. But this return spring is much weaker. The other one, like you had to force it. The engine still makes a lot of vacuum, and since it's a 102mm plate, the engine vacuum like seals. It doesn't like to come off idle. So we're trying to figure that out. I need to connect that with a little 90, but other than that, I mean, it's pretty good. I'm gonna take a shifter out and we're gonna send it out to get some kind of modification done. That way we can put the center console in and put it in the right spot. But I mean, this car is pretty much on the tail end of its life here, hopefully. I am inside Everson's car and we got our new fancy shifter back from Grannis today. So we got the 1.5-inch relocated Magnum F shifter. So now in theory, when I put this in, the shifter will be positioned far enough back to where the center console will fit over, and this won't be contacting the center console anymore, so I don't have to cut his car up. So I'm gonna goop this shit up with some sealant, and then yeah, I bolt it on, try and put the center console in and see how it fits. Well, I got Everson's car basically done. I don't really know what else there is to do. Today I actually installed the battery hold down because it was never there. Installed a circuit breaker. Installed some new wiper blades because the other one flew off on the road while I was driving it a while ago. Yeah, just kind of like do a bunch of little stuff.
Saw it. Gonna be a nutty dude. I'd send it to you. I'll show you.
Yeah, it's pretty much done. I got the center console back in. Looks like normal because... Yep, there you go. It's got 6. Other than that, it looks normal. New shifter replacement's good. It doesn't hit the console anymore, so I didn't have to trim anything. Yeah. Car good? No, I didn't. I'm not taking that off. That's
I'll
a bitch.
I'll snap a picture of one off the internet or something.
Yeah, so we had to drill a hole in the throttle body because the engine vacuum was so strong that trying to break the throttle was really, really hard. You had to basically stab it and then try and catch it. It was a pain in the ass. So drilled a hole in it and now it's a lot better. It may not be perfect because it's not a very big hole, but it's a lot better than it was.
Mr. Everson's 280Z is finally coming to a close. We were delayed about 2 weeks getting this car back to him because he took a vacation out of Japan, so I got Christian working hard detailing it. What do you hear? What do you say?
What up?
You even know what that is?
I ain't hear a word you said.
I said, what do you hear? What do you say?
I ain't no damn thing.
It's Paulie from The Sopranos. Your dad would be so disappointed.
What do you hear? What do you say?
You'd be more disappointed knowing I've never watched Sopranos.
I know. I think you should just start looking for a new home. Nah.
New home, new job.
So Christian is working hard detailing Mr. Everson's so we can get it out. It's probably going to leave this week. Thanks, Christian. I'm sure he will be very thankful as well. Yeah, we've got a Building Legends episode coming up covering this vehicle. Well, Mr. Everson's LS swapped 280Z is finally leaving. It is going back to Oregon. The pickup driver is here for it. He's going to get transported all the way back home, and we'll check in with him in a few days and see how he likes his new monster. And it's headed back to Oregon.